Okay, moving on to our second story of the month, and this one is just lovely. Following on from fake history and alt right and all that kind of thing, and fringe archaeology, we go to something which is genuinely lovely, and that is crowds flocking to an ancient forest on Redcar Beach after the so-called beast from the east, a weather front that moved in across Britain a couple of weeks ago, revealed a Mesolithic petrified forest. Petrified being the state of the wood. They weren't just scared to see the people. The wood has been turned into stone. And did you hear about this? Obviously, it's at the other end of the country from you, but it's not too far from me.
I did because it garnered quite a lot of press coverage, and quite right too. Because as you say, it's just a wonderful story. It reminded me a little bit of that scene in Field of Dreams, and then there's where the farmer has this vision of building a baseball
Hmm.
field, and the line is build it and they will come.
Hmm. Hmm.
I think this is a case of show a piece of history and they will come because people really care about the place where they live.
Hmm. Hmm.
And you've got these wonderful images of people just exploring this sort of almost sort of prehistoric wonderland, I suppose, on the beach
Well, it's a
at
series of,
Redcar.
of, of tree stumps that
Yeah,
extend from Hartlepool to Redcar.
yes,
They date from at least around 6,000 years ago,
indeed.
as opposed to 6,000 BC, and they probably are the last bit of Doggerland to
Mm,
be swallowed up by the sea in that dramatic sort of post-glacial
mm,
reshaping of the European continent. I think what I quite like here is that uh, the local archaeologist, a chap called Dr. Sherlock,
mm.
remembers that actually a stone axe was found in 1986, and actually this site has been it's sort of covered and uncovered by the sands with
Yeah.
weather events periodically. So this is a site that keeps on giving in so much as for the past 100 years or so people have been noticing this. But
Yeah.
when we first talked about this story, you talked about how maybe this is the sort of thing that gives rise to mythology as well.
Well, the thing that struck me most about it, once I got through the wonder of the fact that this thing again had been uncovered, and people were down there on the beach exploring it again as probably their ancestors have been doing since it was first uncovered, and trying to explain it.
Mm.
Um, that got me thinking: could this be one of this idea of trees that suddenly mysteriously appear on a beach?
Hmm.
Um, could that be one of the prompts, if you like, one of the cues for people to use their imaginations and start to wonder about, are there lost lands under the sea? The lost land of Lyonesse is the most famous one, supposedly to the west of Britain, that's sometimes associated with the Scilly Islands.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, it's this idea that out there in the sea and now under the sea are places that were once populated by people. Again, internationally, the most famous one is probably Atlantis. Um,
Indeed.
but yeah,
So go on, sorry.
well, I was going to say, and obviously it won't be the only reason. Because people talk about folk memory of the inundation at the end of the most recent glacial and that filled the Mediterranean basin and things like that,
Hmm. Hmm.
and the Black Sea.
Mm.
But it given that we're such a wonderful, imaginative species, and we try and explain things we can't explain, this could, in terms of local folklore, and this just could be one of the things that spark that imagination.
Yeah, and it's also presumably something which, as you say, people have been probably visiting on and off for the past 5,000 years. Whenever it's uncovered, it's probably this little thing that maybe there'll be a story that then is given is rejuvenated when it next turns up. But I quite like the fact that this is a really good opportunity to highlight the fact that yes, okay, Atlantis and Lyonesse and this kind of thing are good stories, but also the fact that for example, Doggerland was a thing, and that people did used to live out in the North Sea.
Yeah.
It's the thing is, then, this sort of relates to our first segment from this month. The thing is, though, is that this intersection of the wonder of, how, people often say the real world is stranger than fiction. Yeah, the wonder of these things emerging often then is the first step to people making really outlandish claims. So saying, well, clearly then Atlantis is real, or Atlantis as people imagine it is real, as opposed to it maybe being the island of Crete or something like that.
Yeah.
So I think that it's a really good opportunity to engage, frankly, with people, and the sheer number of people. Sadly, I haven't been able to get there. I've been travelling back and forward to Wales so much that we haven't managed to get to Redcar. But the sheer number of people who have been turning up and who've had their imagination sparked, they've been taking photographs, doing paintings. It's really interesting, and I imagine more than a few people have been intrigued by the profession, as it were, by archaeology. Now, funnily enough, I mean, this ties in with something that we're going to talk about next, in fact, in the next segment. But
Indeed.
it for me, it highlights the need and the importance for archaeologists to be open, honest, and accessible when it comes to these finds, because crucially, no one's trying to keep people off this beach, if so. I mean,
No,
you know.
no, and I think that's absolutely crucial. And the other thing about it as well, and one of the other things I get from it is, if we needed it, it's another reminder of quite how fragile our environment, and particularly our coastal environments, are. Here we have something that was once dry land, with things that seem as permanent as as mature trees, and now it's lying in pieces on the foreshore, uncovered by the sea from time to time. And wherever you stand on things like climate change and the level of of human the impact of human activity on climate change and so on, it just shows that our coasts, our sea levels do change. Communities do build themselves and then are inundated and lost, as Doggerland was 8,000 years ago, 9,000 years ago or so. From my dating, but it's
7 or 8.
Yes, that's 7 or 8. Thank you. But there you have people taking ownership of a piece of their present, but also a piece of their past, and I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, no, I like it, and also as well, it's nice to see that even though this landscape is revealed and then covered up again by the shifting sands, that the whole area has been designated an SSSI site of special scientific interest, which is good. So, and crucially as well, in that sense, it's another one. Again, I like the fact that this is because for example, there are triple SIs. That's what I should say. Triple SIs that are close to where I grew up, for example, in North Wales, where people were really discouraged from going, for example, into that meadow or onto that hillside or whatever, because of the particular type of plants or something that only lived in that area. Whereas here, this is one that people can explore, and it's a good little story. It's as I say, it's just lovely, and it's been a pleasure seeing, especially on the local news up here, seeing people's reaction to it.
And actually, a piece of local heritage that isn't just about the the big headline sites like Hadrian's Wall. It's something.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. For once. Yeah.